I'm Tom Taylor, writer of Strange Adventures and Batman. Catch me on today's DC Daily. Crikey.
Welcome to DC Daily. I'm Amy Dallen, and today I am joined by Sam Humphries and Whitney Moore. Hi, how are you doing?
Oh yeah.
Hello, my friends. It's a good day to like comic books.
It is an especially good day today because I get to sit down and pick the unique ex-CIA brain of Batman and Strange Adventures writer Tom King.
No kidding. Really? How exciting.
So he just wrapped up his epic multi-year Batman storyline. I want to get your opinions. What makes a great Batman story?
Ooh, for me it's the villains.
Man.
The villains.
Yeah.
I feel like every great Batman story that I have ever read always has great villains. I mean, Batman has great adversaries in general, but anytime they throw him a curveball, anytime he's got interesting villains, then it's a good Batman story.
You know, I would expect a Catwoman stan like you to say that, Whitney. I think the psychological aspect is my favorite part of any Batman story. Because the thing about Batman, the thing that makes him so strong and unstoppable and unbeatable is he's a messed up dude. He's not entirely mentally healthy. He's still getting over the death of his parents. And death.
Is he getting over it?
Well, he's giving it a shot, but death and grief is something we can all relate to. So I love relating to that aspect of Batman. Because the karate stuff I can't do, not at all.
All right, those are great answers. And now I'm going to actually go sit down with him and we'll get the real answers from the man himself.
Good luck, Amy!
Have fun!
Hey, I'm back and I'm here with DC writer Tom King. Thank you so much for coming to visit us, Tom.
Oh, thank you for having me. I am bored at home. This is such a great break. Thank you. I so much appreciate it.
We are thrilled that you can join us to talk a little bit. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm alive. That's good. No. I'm fine. Yeah, I should knock on wood. I have one of the few jobs in entertainment that keeps going. So I'm a scriptwriter, and comics fortunately don't require any social interaction, which is such a blessing of our industry. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the normal things I do, which is just write, everyday write, except now that I have my children bothering me, so it's slightly different.
So a full house of potential help in crafting your stories is what I assume that means.
Oh, we go over it every day at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I give them the problem at breakfast. They give me a bunch of solutions. And they ask me how I'm doing at lunch. I said I ignored all their advice. And at dinner, they yell at me for ignoring their advice. It's a good pattern.
Perfect.
Dad, why didn't you write what I told you to write? It's almost like living with 3 different editors. So
Or your very own message board in-house.
Yes, my own message board in-house. Yes, they constantly, as soon as I go to dinner, they're like, why didn't Batman and Catwoman get married? I was like, they kind of did. Would you read 85? Every day with this crap.
So we all are very much glad that you are still at work because we have so many more stories that we are desperate to read from you. I am loving Strange Adventures. Can you talk a little bit about that? It's asking some tough questions. Is Adam Strange a hero?
It's funny. I was talking to Josh Williamson about Josh and I talk. He's the writer on Flash. We all know he's brilliant. We talk once a week. We do the sort of status of comics for an hour once a week. And that was Josh asked me the first time. He's like, who's the hero in this book? And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. I'm not sure he's the hero or not. I think you'll find out at the end or in the middle or something. It's a more complicated book than whether someone is a hero all the way or not all the way. I think people are heroes in different circumstances, you know, like you look at, like, I don't know, Audrey Murphy, like the greatest hero of World War II, was kind of a crap to his wife, you know. I think that's the whole point of the book, is that different points of view make different heroes. Look, I have this.
What?
I have the second issue. It exists. It's the last printed DC book. It's in some warehouse somewhere. It's got a half-naked man on the back. Always a sign of quality.
Can you just open it page by page?
Oh my God, this art is gorgeous. Look at this. Look at this art. Look at how pretty this art is.
Oh my gosh.
Look at this. Look at it. Oh my goodness. It's beautiful.
Can we talk about Mitch Gerads and Doc Shaner, who are bringing those dual perspectives to life so beautifully?
Yes. I've never worked on a book that this pretty before. It's kind of intimidating every time I write. It's like,
You've written some beautiful books too.
I have, and I've worked with, I think, the best artists in comics. I mean, with Clay Mann and David Finch and Lee Weeks. Oh my God, right? But this book is just, the art is perfect. And every time I write it, I get so nervous because I was like, they could draw anything, and they have the best talent in the world, and I have to make sure they draw the best thing. So it's like, because it's on the 3 graphs, so it's like basically 3 pictures. So every picture has to be something extraordinary, make people just their jaws drop.
Wait, what's a 3 graph for our audience?
Like I did Mr. Miracle's on a 9-panel grid, so it's got 9 panels obviously in each page. So it's kind of like, it's almost like 3 weekly strips on top of each other. Strange Adventures is on 3, which is how New Frontier is the most famous. It's on a figure. So it's basically 3 stacked boxes. Now we're not strict. It's not every page. Like Mr. Miracle was all nine panels, but it's mostly that. It's they call it widescreen storytelling, which was sort of pioneered by Brian Hitch back in the early 2000s, where it's supposed to be like watching a movie more than reading a comic book.
Now, the early 2000s, you have said, are when you got back into comics. Can you tell us a little bit about that and about which DC books you're reading now?
I'm a very typical kid of my generation who was like super into comics in the early 90s, and I tease Jim Lee that when I see him, I bought 7 copies of X-Men #1.
All the covers plus 2?
All the cover, yeah, of course. You buy all the covers plus 1 to read and 1 in case you lose one. Either with an extra. Yes, all the covers so you could make the poster. I was that kid. I was in line to get the armband for Superman, which I teased Dan Jurgens about too. Jim's the most fun one to tease because my favorite trick, and you can pull this on Jim, is I always say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that book and it sold 7 million," and Jim will always correct you, 7.5 million. I'm sorry. I missed it by 500,000 copies.
If you hit 7.5 million, I guess you are entitled to make sure people get that right for the rest of your life.
And then I got out of comics in the sort of late 90s when I went to college and couldn't afford them basically and had to buy food. And in the early aughts, I was in the service. I was in the CIA, and I was overseas in a circumstance very similar to this, oddly, because I was, for a year, I was stuck in a house on the sort of Afghan-Pakistan border-ish area, and we were looking for bad guys. And we couldn't leave the house except at times when we were doing things. So the whole point of the mission was sort of to endure the wait. And my wife and my mother would send me care packages, and they'd send me comic books. And that's how I got back into comics. And it was Bendis' stuff, it was Mark Miller's stuff, it was Gail Simone's stuff. And they took sort of all the ideas that seemed silly, they took them seriously and turned them into these huge metaphors. Sort of all the guys who were raised on Alan Moore and Frank Miller sort of took that and ran with it. And that blew my mind. And then I literally went back. I was overseas and I had all the time in the world. So I went and got like the Comics Journal, Greatest Comics of All Time, and I think Wizard Magazine, Greatest Comics of All Time. So the 2 from extremes of comic industry. And I read literally 1 through 100 just to get my education on what comics are and what they were. And that's how I got back in. I started writing at night. Yeah.
And the rest is history. What are you reading right now? What DC books are catching your eyes these days?
I'm rereading Invasion by Keith Giffen's old stuff, which is crazy, with Todd McFarlane, little baby Todd McFarlane on art. I'm rereading Suicide Squad. My son is 11, which is prime superhero age, and he's always ignored comics. He's a wrestling fan. He's a sports fan. God forbid. I think he just wandered into my room and was like, I am incredibly bored. I'm going to be bored for 4 months straight. And here's a room full of comics. What is this about, Dad? And I started handing him books, and he can't get enough of them. He raids my shelves, and you see my shelves aren't tight because he frickin' takes them off. I yell at him and throw him, but nothing. He loves like dark age DC, late 80s DC is his. So I'm rereading that stuff with him, like the Bwahaha Justice League and a lot of Dan Jurgens. Dan Jurgens is his favorite writer. He throws it in my face all the time. When I was at C2E2, I got a picture with Dan Jurgens just to impress him. I had to get a selfie with Dan. I was like, it was the most embarrassing thing. I was at lunch. I was like, can I get a selfie with you? So my son thinks I'm cool.
That is pure comics joy right there. Speaking of fathers and sons a little bit, not to take it to a dark place, we got to talk about your Batman run. You pushed
not
Bruce.
A dark place. I love my Batman run.
No. I just meant because I'm about to bring up something real sad. You pushed Bruce to his limits in your Batman run. How hard was it to make the decision, for instance, about Alfred Pennyworth, to kill him?
That wasn't hard because I don't think that was my idea. I remember it was supposed to be a fake out. Honestly, it was. We actually, if you look back, you'll see there's some clues that like maybe this is fake. And then I got a call from DC Comics, from editorial, and they're like, "Tom, what if this isn't fake? What if Alfred died?" And I remember I got on the phone with my brilliant editor, Jamie Rich, who's the best editor in the business. And I was like, we can't do this. It doesn't make sense. And we walked and we took an hour and we went through all the options. And by the end, we'd come up with sort of how we could make it make sense and add to the story instead of detract from it. Literally at the end, I said to Jamie, did we just kill Alfred? And he's like, oh, I was like, we just need to take a moment for this. Because this just happened. I mean, comics are a cyclical thing, and he'll only stay dead if it produces more stories. That's always my feeling on it. If it makes good stories, he'll stay dead. If not, I'm sure Batman can find a way. Well, then I get to write sort of the issue where he finds out and do this letter. I lost my mother recently, so I just kind of put myself into that point of view about, what it means to sort of lose a parent. And then I got to get to the final beat of the whole thing, which was in 85, when he sort of says to Thomas, he's like, "You're not my father." And then he says to Gotham Girl, "My father once told me," saying his father's Alfred, basically. So I got to that beat where, a lot of Batman is about vengeance and the night and violence, but also a lot of Batman's about adoption. It's about sort of finding your own family. To me, that was always the most important part about that character, is sort of him creating, with Catwoman and with Robin and with Alfred, creating a family. And a lot of people have to do that because the life doesn't work out the way you want, and you have to make your own family. And I think that I got to get at that, and that was important.
I think my favorite line actually from your whole run comes in the wedding issue when he says, "I look like my father," and Alfred very tenderly says, "Yes, you do." It holds so much meaning no matter what else happens. I have to ask, when did you decide and how did you decide on making Thomas Wayne your big bad?
There was supposed to be Bane was the big bad the whole time, and Thomas Wayne was supposed to sort of be the Darth Vader to his Emperor, like that he was like his top enforcer. And as we started playing with sort of the dynamic between Batman and his father, and then these two people being utterly matched in this plan, I mean, because it's a 100-issue plan that Bane put together. And I love the idea that, part of this plan is, it's so complicated and so cool. Bane is very good, but maybe he's not that good. The only person who's that good is Batman. And then I like the idea that we were doing this thing called City of Bane. Everyone would think it would be about Bane because it's called City of Bane, obviously. But it wasn't about Bane in terms of the actual character. It was about Bane, the emotion. And it was about that feeling that Thomas had. So it was a little way to play some sleight of hand, to be like, look, I told you, this is not, it's not about a character. It's about that feeling Thomas has to protect his son, and how that turns into anger inside him.
Let's talk about Batman and Catwoman. In your opinion, are they the perfect couple?
Oh God, no. They're a horrible couple. That's what makes them great. I mean, that's why I'm writing this Batcat series of Clay Mann now, which is gorgeous, my God. But yeah, no, they're no good for each other, because she is a criminal. She is, in her heart of hearts, she wants to steal things. She's a kleptomaniac. She does not want to answer to anyone except herself, and even then she doesn't want to do it. And he is a man of the rules. His whole life is to war on criminals. It's the only thing he cares about is the war on criminals. Literally that vow. He did a whole 85 issues about his obsession with that vow, and he falls in love with a criminal. So no, they're a terrible couple, terrible for each other, and that's why it works, and that's why it's lovely, and that's why it's beautiful, because sometimes the people who are worse for each other love each other the most.
Are you Tom Taylor? Because what's going on with the April Foolery, and you're wearing each other's faces? How did this all get started? What's the story here on Twitter?
I am Tom Taylor. I think it should come out. I faked a whole personality. I put myself in Australia, which was smart, because Australia, that doesn't exist, right?
Sounds fake, yeah.
Have you been to Australia? No one's been to Australia. It just sounds fake. What, like little big rats with pouches? No, that whole thing's made up. I added him to that fictional world of Australia, and I made this character just so I could write twice as many books. I was like, I'm not writing enough books. Bi-Weekly Batman and Mr. Mino, I need to write all the books. And I felt like I wasn't crushing people's heart enough. I crushed them with the wedding. I made them cry with Vision and Mr. Miracle, but I was like, well, I really want to kill all of DC Comics in a sad way. And I feel like, so I made up Tom Taylor. At least, not once, twice, yeah. I made up Tom Taylor as my other personality. No, we're the same person. So I'm outing us now. Yeah.
You should maybe have picked a different first name though. Big giveaway.
Well, I'm not creative. I'm sorry. That's not my. It's like Superman and Batman. Did you know they have the same name for their mother? Come on, it's people. There's a limit to things.
What are the odds of that? Okay, I have to ask, what is the latest with you and Ava DuVernay on New Gods? Any updates?
Updates. No, I can't. I'll get in trouble. There are people watching, I'm sure. They're more watching than the CIA. She's wonderful to work with. She's a big old nerd. She loves Big Barda with all her heart, which I think
This is correct. Good.
Yes, this is so and she writes well. Ava writes. I mean, that's not a shocker, right? You've seen her stuff. She writes good, and she's passionate about this. And I love working with her. And again, like I've said this before, I'll say it. I feel like my job is just to bring Jack Kirby, this sort of genius American creator, Jewish son of immigrants, together with Ava DuVernay, this daughter of Los Angeles, who's another creative genius, and merge them together. I'm sort of the go-between. And it's working. Yeah. And then writing the New Gods is it's like coming back to your children. I don't know. It's Barda and Scott, and not that you need them. Not that I'm confirming they're in the movie.
If we didn't have a Barda, we might riot. I'm just saying.
There'll probably be some Barda.
So who are your inspirations as a creator?
I have a picture back here of my comic book ideal people. There's me, and I'm in the picture. Those are the Simonsons. That's
Walt and Louise Simonson?
Simonson, Wheezy, and that's Frank Miller right there. And I want to live my life. I want to be like Walt and Louise Simonson. I literally, what would they do when I look at? Because they're incredibly creative people who have contributed immensely to America's greatest art form, which is comics, and they're incredibly kind. And they treat their both their careers and their fellow creators and men with dignity. And so they're my inspiration. Yeah, the Simonsons and Frank Miller. I want to be as good a writer as Frank Miller. I never will be. So I'll just keep chasing.
So speaking of Frank Miller and some of these other greats and your own run, what are the ingredients for a truly great Batman story?
First, you got to get him married. That's
okay.
The number one thing. Yeah, as long as it ends with a marriage, it's going to be a great story. He has to be pushed to his limits. You need a moment in Batman. I did it in issue 18. I think I did it again in 70 something, where anyone else in the entire world would give up. Anyone else in fiction would say, "Forget it. I'm done. I'm out." And Batman says, "No, I'm still in the fight." That's the moment you're leading up to, because Batman is the guy who doesn't give up, and he's the guy who keeps going forward. You need an element of mystery, you need an element of horror, and you need someone to draw the crap out of it. So get Lee Weeks or Clayman to draw.
I will make sure to do that. Should this ever
or Mikhail Hanin is also that'll serve you well too.
Do you have any message that you would want to send out to fans right now, living through these very unusual times?
I mean, like I said, I've done this before. I did a year of this once, and where we didn't have enough toilet paper. We literally had a bucket by a toilet. And we were by ourselves, and our lives were in danger. And I just want to say we'll get through it. We're going to get through it. Like, there's going to be another side to this. I keep telling people, like, my grandmother, we were really close. She helped raise me because when we talk about adopted families, my dad left when I was young, so my grandma helped raise me. And so she was born in the early 20s, and her aunt died of the Spanish flu. So she would tell me, and she was raised with her because of that, and sort of her whole life. And she died a few years ago, and I keep wishing I could talk to her about the whole thing. But I mean, she went through the Depression, she went through World War II, and she was of that generation that just kept going. And she was sort of the person who focused on the solution, not the problem. That was like her motto. Like, she would just, if she looked at something, she wouldn't panic. She'd be like, all right, how do we get out of it? And I think.
Very Batman.
Oh, yeah. My grandma was Batman. No, 100%. I keep a letter she wrote when I was in the war. She wrote me a letter. I keep it by my desk. This is perfect. I hope the food is good and your bed comfortable. I'm so very proud of you that you have the job you do. You are always in my thoughts. So I hope the food is good and your bed is comfortable. Yeah. So I think we'll. I'm telling you, we'll get through this, and the Spanish flu was followed by the Roaring 20s. So it's going to be a party. It's going to be a party at the end of it. We're going to go to a con and we're going to drink like no one's ever drank. We're going to spend like no one ever spent. And we're going to wear masks. They're going to be masks that have little Batmans on them and like little Supermans on them. I already talked to Jim Lee. I said, you want to make some money? Let's do some licensing on masks. It's going to be amazing. So yeah, it's going to be cool. It'll be different, but it'll be cool. And we'll get through it together. And read some comics. It'll make you feel better about things. Read some comics. That's what I'm doing.
Excellent. It's great advice. I'm not saying we have a whole bunch of comics on DC Universe people can check out, but we do. Thank you so much for joining us, Tom.
Well, what a pleasure. Thank you for breaking up my day, and thank you for being so nice. And, I apologize for all the swear words I'm sure I said back. So.
I think we did okay.
Oh. Yeah.
As for the rest of you, if you haven't checked out Strange Adventures yet, you should go read it immediately. I am dying to see what's next. Only Tom knows right now. But someday we're going to get it. And there are, of course, dozens of Tom's Batman books and a bunch of his other excellent DC work available on DC Universe right now. So get to reading. And we'll be back in a sec. And that was it. Wasn't he great? Wow. It was such a fun conversation.
He's a dang
Oh my God,
treat.
that was so fun to watch.
I have one more question for y'all. Do you prefer a writer like Tom taking on a big in-continuity book or these sort of self-contained, semi-out-of-continuity maxi series like Mr. Miracle and now Strange Adventures?
Boy, that's a tough one because I have been writing in continuity for years at this point. And there's good and bad that comes with it. But I gotta say, if I could do anything right now, I would love to do something out of continuity, something like Strange Adventures or something that is in the Black Label world, because you get to have so much fun with the characters. You get to do things that no one's ever done with them before.
I think I agree with Sam. I love the out of continuity stuff just because there feels like there's more freedom there, but also Tom King is such an amazing writer. I want him to handle continuity because I know that we're in good hands. You know what I mean?
And to contribute to that baton that gets passed down to the next person, and the next person has its own appeal. So yeah, I'm selfish. I want both.
Well, we can have both. We're here at DC. We got it all.
Okay, I think we settled that, but we have one more piece of business. It's time for Meta Madhouse. For weeks, our villains have been duking it out. You've been voting on the winners, but there could only be, in the end, one champion. Are you ready? Reverse Flash! Congratulations, you monster. Looks like Brainiac just wasn't quick enough to beat you. Now, if only we could get you to sit still for your photo. Congratulations again to our winner, and thank you to all of you who voted. You made this year's tournament a truly terrifying one. Okay, well, that's it for today's show. We will see you next time, and until then, bye!
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, y'all. See you later.